Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help mental health professionals grow their dream practices and live a life they love. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building tips. We invite you to take advantage of our private practice paperwork and our signature marketing e-course. And we have a gift for you. This is the exact methodology we use to create our six-figure private pay practices and have helped many other therapists do the same. Go to privatepracticestartup.com and on the homepage, click the button to download a free copy of your dream private practice playbook. Now on to today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. How is everyone doing today? We're so delighted that you're here. And we hope that you guys joined us last week as we had Sean Davis back on the podcast for the third time. Sean was actually our first guest ever. Fast forward 5 years later, Sean comes back on and he talks about his success story and where he is now. And we were blown away as he shared that he has a seven-figure practice and it is his side hustle. He has some really interesting advice on what's really helped him get there. So don't miss that podcast with Sean for sure. Today, we're talking about how to get private pay clients in private practice. And we are joined by our coach, Susan Block, also licensed marriage and family therapist. So this is just going to kind of be like a round robin where the three of us are sharing a little bit about how to do that, how we've done that, our own personal stories. So why don't we just dive right in? But before we dive in, actually, so sorry, I lied. Why don't we just take a quick moment for our sponsor?
As a therapist, how you communicate with your clients online is just as important as how you communicate in your sessions. However, if you use email and web forms to communicate, you need to be sure that they're secure and HIPAA compliant. Hushmail takes the guesswork out of secure communications by providing encrypted email, web forms, and e-signatures all in one package. Hush Secure Forms makes building forms very easy. You can start a form from a template and customize it to reflect your practice, or use the drag and drop form builder to build beautiful forms from scratch with fields for legally binding e-signatures. Then add your form to your website or send it through secure email. Hush Secure Forms also includes a selection of screening forms such as the PHQ-9 and GAD-7 that deliver a score upon completion. Move your intake, informed consent, health history, and other practice forms to a HIPAA-compliant Hush Secure Forms platform. Your clients will spend less time in the waiting room and more time getting the care they need. Go to tryhushmail.com/PPS and enjoy your first month for free. Is managing your practice stressing you out? Try Therapy Notes. It makes billing, notes, scheduling, and telehealth a whole lot easier. Check it out, and you will quickly see why it's rated the highest EHR on Trustpilot with over 1,000 verified customer reviews and an average customer rating of 4.9 or 5 stars. You'll notice a difference from the first day you sign up for the trial. They offer live phone support 7 days a week. So when you have questions, you can quickly reach someone who can help. You are never wasting time looking for answers. If you're coming from another EHR, they make the transition really easy. Therapy Notes will import your client's demographic data free of charge during your trial so you can get going right away. Use the promo code PPS to get your first 2 months for free, or try out Therapy Notes for free, no strings attached, including their very reliable telehealth platform. Make 2021 the best year yet with Therapy Notes.
Okay, why don't we just dive right in now? How was that? Susan, it's great to have you back on our podcast. I think maybe this is officially your third time as well.
I think it is. I think I've lost count already. I just love hanging out with the both of you and doing these podcasts. So thanks for having me back on.
Of course. Well, we love hanging out with you, and you are definitely producing some amazing results with our coachees going through our e-course or just having one-on-one coaching or group. And this is something that obviously the three of us love to talk about, and it is totally possible. And I know, Kate, before we hopped on, we were kind of just talking about some of the assumptions and misconceptions people have in regards to the ability to have a private pay practice or even getting there. What do you want to share about that?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge that a lot of clinicians, regardless if they're just starting out or if they've been in private practice for years, there can be this misunderstanding or assumption that maybe they need to get on insurance panels, kind of be in the safety zone, either while they're building a private pay caseload or instead of, or maybe having a hybrid model. And I know even in grad school, there's a lot of times that people will say, oh, you didn't get into this field to make money. Well, you can make a really great living while making a difference. It's totally possible. I think there's a lot of areas that kind of add to the hesitation that people will have, or the fears, the mindset issues that come up, and really prevent people from stepping fully into a full fee private pay practice. And that's something that's unique about Katie, Susan, and myself. We all built our 6-figure private pay practices and have been wildly successful at doing so. And then also helping therapists for years and years and years to do the same without having to sacrifice their time, their schedules, the amount of work that they're giving, who they're working with, how long they're working with clients. So I just want to say a little disclaimer. If you have an insurance-based practice and that's working for you, there's nothing wrong with that. The perspective that we're sharing here is that it's absolutely possible, if you want to have a full fee private pay practice, that is truly possible, as long as you have the support, as long as you follow a methodology that really works, as long as you are clear on who you're serving and how you're helping them get the results that they need, want, desire, and deserve. It's absolutely possible. And we want to open up your eyes and encourage you and inspire you in this episode by sharing our own stories, by sharing stories about therapists that we've worked with, and also giving you some ninja tips so that you can really attract more of the private pay clients that you're looking for. Anything that you ladies want to add?
No, and I'm glad you shared that, right? Like, yes, there's definitely nothing wrong having a insurance-based practice or a hybrid. I just know for me, coming from community mental health, I just remember as I was in supervisor role for 11 years and kind of got my license and stuff like that by doing stuff per diem and part-time. And I remember as a supervisor going back and forth with insurance companies. And I just knew for me that was not the route that I wanted to go ever. And what it was I guess I valued myself enough, even though I charged way less initially starting out, was I didn't want to chase around my money. Like, that was the thing for me. That was like, I'll do whatever it takes to figure this out, even though, like, for the first year, I wanted to quit every day, numerous times a day, and go back to the comfy space of having a paycheck. Thank God, I continued on. And then, as we discovered this methodology, we didn't discover the methodology. It was kind of like we fell into it and then realized, oh, this is the methodology that works. Then things got a lot easier. And I know for me is I was able to build, my 6-figure private practice, only working like 3 half days. I had supervision as a supplement because I loved that aspect, but working 3 half days, having a 6-figure income, I'd say that's a lot of time, money, freedom, in regards to really living a life that, I wanted to live at that time in regards to having that practice. So yeah, I'm excited to dive in. Susan, where do you want to start in this process?
Where to begin? And I just want to, also say I've been there myself and, have walked in those shoes as well, and knew from the very beginning when I was starting my private practice that I wanted, a private pay practice, self-pay private pay. Insurance was just not something I was open to, but I'm really grateful for the therapists in my community that I'm able to refer people to that really have to use their insurance, and that there's some amazing therapists out there that accept insurance, that are doing really well, and we're very grateful for them. But I knew for myself that was not the direction I wanted to go. And through coaching other clinicians, that are really wanting, their end game is to be a private self-pay practice, then this is really for you. And I think knowing what your end game is and, what are the steps that you need to get there. And so I just wanted to begin with the first tip, if I can call it that, is mastering your skill set. If you love working with couples, if you really love the area of addiction or working with trauma, really knowing what skill lights you up. And through all of your, past experiences in a clinical setting, you kind of know who lights you up. You know what type of client you're enjoying working with. It's when you're with that client and you're sitting at the edge of your seat and you're really like helping to kind of put the pieces together with them. The time goes by really fast. You get energized by that client. That's who you enjoy working with. That's the client who really lights you up, who makes you feel passionate about what you're doing, rather than maybe some clients that you might have worked with that maybe the time just kind of like is going at that turtle speed and you're just not feeling it. And even though your intention is good, it's just not working for you. So this is really about finding your area of specialty and letting your passion really drive everything that you do to help attract your ideal client who are going to work with you, whether they have insurance or they don't. I work with many clients in my practice that have health insurance. That's usually one of the first questions they ask on an intake call because they don't know what else to ask when they're calling you. And they are willing to work with you no matter what, because you're the expert who's going to help fix their problem. And they're hurting, they're in pain, and they need you desperately. And it's about helping them to find you. So by mastering your skill and letting the marketing kind of come from a place of passion is really about being there to help your client, your future client down the road. So by mastering your skill might be, getting some additional trainings if you're not confident in a particular area. Maybe, if you think about, you probably already are an expert in that area, but you're just not recognizing that in yourself. You have the certifications, you have all of your credentials, you've done your internships, your practicums, you might have worked in an agency, whatever that may be, and then really taking a look at, what, I am an expert in this. And I'm really, excited and passionate about helping this particular group of clients. How will I go about marketing and positioning myself so that they can actually find me and that I can be there for them when they need me?
As a therapist, you're probably too preoccupied with your caseload to think about bookkeeping or tax filing. Herd is a bookkeeping and tax platform built specifically for therapists that helps you track and improve your practice's financial health. Regardless of whether you're a seasoned clinician or in the first year of your practice, Herd will help you identify areas for growth and streamline best financial practices for your business. When you sign up, you'll work directly with financial specialists to track your income and expenses, file taxes online, and grow your business. You'll also receive financial insights such as profit and loss statements and personalized monthly reports. Say goodbye to reviewing spreadsheets and guessing your tax deductions or quarterly payments. Focus on your clients and Herd will take care of the rest. Dr. Katia, a psychologist based in San Francisco, says, working with Herd freed up my time to focus on what really matters in my practice. Managing my books is now easy, transparent, and cost-effective. Plans begin at $75 per month and can easily be tailored to fit your business's financial needs. Schedule your first consultation at joinherd.com. That's joinherd.com.
I remember when I first started, I was definitely a generalist. And then I started seeing couples and I was trying to apply solution-focused brief therapy to couples work, realized that didn't work. And so I also found that I went to Gottman One training, and I remember sitting in the training and going like this to myself, wow, I didn't realize how critical I am in my relationship. Like, it was like this thing, like, when your ear is attuned to what a criticism actually is, because now you're learning about this in couples relationships, you're like, wow. So for me, like working with couples, it was this like beautiful, very symbiotic relationship where the more that I learned about that, the better my relationship was. And the more that I learned about relationships and the more that I could give. And then the beautiful thing happened is it just became easy because it was like, you're passionate about it, you're talking about it, you're excited about it. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to do a video. It's easy to blog about it. It's easy to, continue to create. And it's all kind of on this one thing rather than having to constantly shift gears time and time again. So it just like energizes you when you're in the flow of really loving what it is that you do. And I know, Susan, you shared a story before about an experience you've had in the teaching world regarding being an expert.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't, some people might know and other people might not. I'm a former school teacher who actually transitioned into full-time private practice and gave up the teaching profession. I feel like I think 7 years now. And back when I was teaching, I remember my very first year teaching, I taught first grade, and it just was so overwhelming. It was exhausting. And I would go home every night just exhausted. And the next school year, I ended up switching to a different grade, a higher level grade. I taught fourth grade. And it was a year that the students were tested on their writing skills. So over the summer, right before I started teaching fourth grade, I took all these writing trainings, and I really fell in love with it. I was very passionate and excited. I felt energized about starting the new school year. And I remember thinking very early on, I'm going to get really good at being the writing teacher, because in the teaching world, administrators are constantly shuffling teachers around to different grades. So if there's a need for a teacher to move from one grade to another, it's just, you're never getting to master your skill. You're moving from classroom to classroom, and it's just exhausting. Teachers are exhausted to begin with, and then shuffling them around every school year just doesn't help. So I purposely made it my mission to be the writing expert at my school, and continued all of my trainings throughout the years that I was there. And I will say, for 14 out of the 15 teaching years I taught full time, I taught the same grade. It worked. I didn't have to move around. And so I kind of did what you did, Katie, when I started private practice. I was a generalist at first. I had no idea who I wanted to work with, but I just knew that when I was working with couples, I felt energized in the therapy room, rather than when I was working with a teenager. I'll never forget. I was all over the place. I was a mess. I felt like I was so drained from working with the teenager that I just knew that wasn't for me. And really, I wasn't serving them well. So I did exactly, what you did. I started getting all these different trainings, Gottman, EFT, I mean, you name it. I was in these trainings, and I really mastered my skill. And it led everything I did from that point on, all of my marketing, all the videos, like you talked about, everything. And it worked for my clients. It worked for me. And, the calls kept coming in, and I was able to have that thriving practice, and still do today.
I love how you're talking about this, Susan. And it's so true, because people will pay to see the best. They want to see the expert. They want to get the greatest possible results from the person that they're seeing, to be able to help them in the quickest, most efficient way possible. And being an expert and positioning yourself as an expert gives you that confidence. It also, like you were saying earlier, keeps your passion alive. So you're marketing from a place of confidence and passion, and that captivates people. It really, really does. Versus the flip side of things, where you might be trying to market, but it's not really your passion. That's going to carry through in your marketing and how people experience you and what it is that you do. So mastering your skill is a really important aspect that also helps you work through some of the mindset blocks that come up regardless of how many years you've been in practice. So I love that you're bringing this tip to the table today.
Absolutely. And I think, talking about confidence, a lot of times when I'm coaching clinicians, one thing that kind of keeps coming up, and I'm sure in your experiences of coaching in the past, there's this feeling of marketing, of sales, and that it's sleazy or just a not a good place to be. People feel very awkward and uncomfortable. And as we all talk about, we go to graduate school to be clinicians. We don't learn the business side of things. And so when we think about marketing or sales, it just comes across, or it feels very sleazy, slimy, whatever terms you want to give it. And as clinicians, we're very compassionate, very empathetic by nature. We know people are in pain. We're not trying to sell a car or sell a makeup product to someone. We're selling a service at a time where people are sometimes at their worst and they are just so emotionally distraught with whatever they have going on. So it does feel weird to market to someone in pain. The bottom line is this person or future client, whether they're in a bad relationship, the traumas that they've dealt with, abuse, addiction, whatever they're coming to the table with, they are so desperate for our services that they need help. They want the help, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to feel better. And so they need to be able to hop online, because that's where everybody's going, or ask, some friends if they're comfortable to ask, who should I go and see? Or they Google, or they even will go on social media and see, what other people are doing, or maybe ask a question to some friends on Facebook. So people want the service, they're desperately needing it, and they're Googling, they're going online, they're asking for referrals, and they need to be able to find you. So you have to market. But if you let your confidence and your passion kind of drive the marketing, then all of a sudden it takes all of the ickiness, the sleaziness away from it, and really helps to connect your ideal client with you.
I love
Absolutely.
that. And it's interesting because that's a great way to help people overcome mindset issues. And one of the things you were like kind of highlighting, another aspect of really achieving a full fee private pay practice, is overcoming mindset blocks. It's interesting. Our dear friend Laura Long is actually in an MBA program, and Kate, myself, Allison Prier, and Laura on a Marco Polo together. And, we're asking her everything that she's learning. And she's like, oh my God, this is like crazy. Like, therapists are positioned to be the most amazing business owners. And Kate and I have been saying that for a long time, right? Because we already listen to client language. That's all about marketing. We already know goals. We already know their pain. And also two, therapists are already primed doing mindset work, where most people going into business, like I've done so much personal and professional development. Like, I'll go to these trainings or conferences and people are like, oh my God, this mindset stuff that they're talking about, it's amazing. And it's like, I feel like I've lived there all my life. You know what I mean? So it's like, we already have an advantage, and we also have to do our own mindset work. And it usually revolves around marketing mindset, business mindset, and money mindset. So there's stuff that we have to overcome. But Susan, you make a great point, is when I'm passionate about something and someone asks me a question in an hour, I'm still talking about it. Like, that's marketing. Like, it's because you're excited about it, you're passionate about it, you're an expert in it, and it's just easy to talk about. And the fact that you help people get results is that's what we're looking for. So, we're talking about obviously specializing, we're talking about overcome those mindset blocks. And, these are aspects, the specialist stuff we talk about, I don't think we talk enough about the mindset stuff, because that's really important. Because I think a lot of times we think like, okay, tell me, how A connects to B, tell me the methodology and I'll just do it and whatever. But this is as important work beforehand. Or if you built a generalist practice and in the middle, it's fine. Wherever business is not a straight line. So doing that stuff is really important. And now I think it's kind of helpful if we talk about like, well, then how do we make all of this come to life? Like, how then do people begin to know about us, to be able to reach out to us, to find us, to see us? Where do you ladies want to go from here?
Yeah, I think I love the conversation, and I love how it's both an internal look at, yourself and your passions, and getting clear on who you are really called to serve and who you do your best work with, and working on the mindset stuff and honing in on your skill set and really strengthening that. And then it's also looking at who you serve and what is it they struggle with, getting super clear on how it is that you help them, simplifying that so that you can start to take that information and turn it into your marketing messages, which is going to be the information that potential clients and potential referral sources come across. So the one marketing, the most important non-negotiable marketing tool that Katie and I and Susan talk about is the website, making sure that you are clear on your brand and your ideal clients, and you have your marketing messages that really speak to them and captivate them. And having that on your website is so important, because when people are looking for a therapist, they go to Google. They ask their friends, they ask providers. So they ask their pediatrician or their attorney or their psychiatrist or their hairdresser, whoever it is that they're asking. They're going to say, oh, you've got to see my friend Susan Block or this couples therapist, Susan Block, and she's amazing. They're going to hand Susan's website over. And what's the first thing that person's going to do? They're going to go to the website. They're going to want to look up Susan. They might pull up her Google My Business page and see all of her reviews, her rave reviews on there, and look for, how can Susan help me? How can she help my relationship? And so when people are looking for that, it's so important to have your information laid out on a website in a way that's clear, in a way that captivates them, in a way that inspires them to want to work with you. So that is a huge marketing tip, especially for those who want to be private pay. Susan made the comment before that there's a lot of insurance-based calls that call her, but she converts them into wanting to work with her because she's the expert. They're going to get the greatest results, and it doesn't matter to them. They want to see the best. And so when your information is laid out on your website in a way that really clearly conveys that you are the expert in this particular niche, it's super effective.
And if I can just piggyback on what you're talking about, once you start getting the calls coming in, really honing in on your intake call to help with your confidence. Because, you might be this expert. You might come with all the credentials and credibility and training, and the calls are coming in, but for some reason, you're not converting them into clients, then you're losing them. So it's almost like you're wasting all of the marketing, the good marketing that you've put in, because your intake call, you're not coming from a place of confidence. And there's a system in the intake call that matters. And so if you're, an intake call, when you're an insurance-based practice, is going to sound and look different than an intake call for a self-pay practice. I know when I'm calling and I have my health insurance to a dentist or a doctor's office, the first question I'm going to ask is, do you take my insurance? What openings do you have? When can you get me in? And then they ask for, your name, your address, your insurance, your policy number, and you get the appointment set up. In a self-pay practice, the intake call is really about the connection to your hopeful future client that's on the phone with you, and they are a self-pay client, so they have the freedom and flexibility to pick anyone that they want to work with, even if they're not on the plan. Whereas an insurance-based practice, they're simply coming because you're on their plan. Now, they might have heard great things about the clinician and they want to work with them, and that's a great fit. But if they are just calling and really getting the freedom to choose who they want to work with, you have to be able to make that potential client connect with you. And that has to come through in your confidence. They have to feel that you are an expert, not a generalist, and that you're credible. And that's going to make them want to work with you regardless of whether you are on their insurance plan or not.
I'm so glad you bring up the call, and that's important. And that's an area that I have dove into, like strategically, like scientifically based, like picking it apart. And Kate and I created the client converting call script. So don't worry, we got you covered there. We're going to put that in the show notes, a link in the show notes page. And that really is actually one of my favorite things that we've created besides our marketing e-course to really help therapists, because that call can be really unnerving. And I remember it was funny when one time, one of the rounds that Kate and I have done for our marketing e-course and coaching program, I do remember like two of our coachees right off the bat started using the call script, and boom, like immediately started converting more people. So we got you covered there, because it could be daunting and you don't know exactly what to say and what not to say, and especially how to navigate do you take insurance when you don't. Answering that right off the bat is not the way to go. So anyway, grab the call script if you're needing that. So let's talk a little bit more about, so the website's non-negotiable. And what else is really important when we're looking to build that private play? Kate, I was going to pick on you earlier about this tongue twister, and I just messed it all up. private pay, private practice. Okay. So the how-tos are really getting ourselves out there. So the website's the non-negotiable. What else is really important?
Once you have your website up and it very clearly speaks to your ideal client, you have all your specialty pages written, not just, one page for individual counseling and all services lie on that page. You have your page for anxiety counseling, couples counseling, whatever your specialties are. You want to start driving traffic there. You want to start driving traffic to your website. And the best way to do that we found is working with a Google Ads specialist to be able to help you doing that. Also, SEO is part of the long-term marketing strategy. You won't see results from that quickly. The Google Ads is a more immediate return on that investment, but it's good to be able to do both and to work with the experts who are going to help you to understand that fully and know how it works for therapists. So once you have that amazing website and you've got the SEO working, you've got Google Ads, you're sending traffic your way, and you have the confidence to be able to navigate the intake call, or you have someone on your team, whether it's a VA or an assistant, or maybe you have a completely online schedule or whatever your system is, you have that system set up so that it streamlines things so that when potential clients are calling you, contacting your office, they're able to get scheduled with ease. And then they come in and see you. And because you're doing the work that you absolutely love, they're getting great results. And then they become your word of mouth marketing. It's free marketing. So all of this really works together. And, we're clearly very passionate about talking about these types of topics. And we're just kind of touching on these little bit of areas today. Everything really works together to be able to follow this step-by-step process and helping you to really fill your practice with the clients that you absolutely love to work with and get paid really well while doing so.
Yeah, good points. And I know that you might be wondering well, what about social media, or what about networking, or what about this, or what about that? And those are all really great questions. So we're giving you really the base of what it is that you need. And also when Kate's talking about Google Ads, this is how to gain clients in your business fast. One of the things that all three of us firmly believe is that you should then add on, 2 to 3 strategies that are aligned to your natural skills and strengths, right? So some of you absolutely loathe networking. We're not going to say you have to do that, because the reality is all marketing strategies work that have a clear system and a structure, but you need to have the base first, the foundation. And this is kind of what we're talking about today. And then you're going to add those pieces on to further expand, your marketing reach. Susan, what were you going to say?
No, I think that, and you kind of already said it, the artificial versus organic marketing. The good news here is that if you're a new clinician, fairly new to private practice, that you can start attracting your ideal client quickly. That this doesn't have to take, 3 years, 5 years. I mean, the organic will come, but in the very beginning, that quick artificial, your Google ads you're going to show up on that first page. It's going to be paid, but you are going to show up. So while you're getting all your pieces in place, that you can still have a successful private pay practice. I got it.
I saw you slowly saying that. That was funny.
I got it. That you can open up shop. You can feel good about what you're doing. You can hone in on your specialty. That you don't have to market to the masses in the very beginning because you're fearful that you're not going to get your ideal client to find you. Really, marketing to the masses is based on fear. It's fear that I'm not going to get enough calls. It's fear that, maybe it's a fluke that I got, 5 calls in a day, and will that happen next week? You're going to start putting all of those systems in place, and that's going to take some time, but you can start immediately through your Google Ads getting seen quickly while you're building up more of an organic presence out there.
Nice. So we hope this was helpful for everyone today. And ladies, I'm just wondering what your final thoughts or words of wisdom are in regards to our podcast today.
I'm going to leave everybody with, own your expertise and don't be afraid to say it.
Yes. Kate?
I just hope that everybody gets the feeling and the understanding that this is completely possible. If you really want to fill your practice with clients you love, get paid well while doing it, have the freedom and flexibility to live your life on your terms, it's absolutely possible. And Susan, when you were talking a few moments ago, it made me think of one of our past coachees, Elizabeth Oliveras. She was a registered intern when she took our marketing e-course, and she filled her practice with, the clients, her ideal clients, and was able to make six figures in less than 6 months. I mean, this stuff is truly possible no matter where you are in your practice journey, whether you're just starting out or you've been in practice for years. It's truly possible. And as long as you're having the clarity of the things that we touched on today and you're following a methodology, you can absolutely get there.
Exactly. And it's no secret, this is what we love doing, right? Like, we are in the business, and Private Practice Startup is really to help therapists live their dream life, work with the clients they absolutely love. And we're here to help you actually streamline that process. I know earlier on, we offered you guys the Your Dream Private Practice Playbook, which is a free playbook. Definitely take advantage of that. That is the methodology that we use to help clinicians, hundreds of clinicians around the globe really achieve private practice success. And you know what? If you are really ready to dive in, and, Kate talks about Elizabeth Oliveras, and I'm like, this girl is so smart. I remember, because I had the call with her. She's like, I'm a registered intern. I'm thinking about starting my private practice. And I said, hey, we have this marketing e-course and coaching program. And she jumped right in, and she followed exactly what we told her to do. Where Kate and I and Susan, I know we struggled for a long time, not too long, but there wasn't any, practice building experts out there when we all started. So the fact that she was just smart enough to say, I'm going to listen to these people and do what they say and get the results, like, that's what we're up for. That's what we're up to. So definitely check out our marketing e-course. We'll put the link for all of the things that we talked about in our show notes page, the call script, the playbook, and of course, the marketing e-course. We're here to serve you as you're serving others. And, I think my takeaway from this is, you guys got this. We're here to help and support. You can definitely do it. It's totally possible. And, just honor yourself wherever you are in your private practice journey, and know that there's people out there helping support you get to the next level, if and when you're ready. So I hope you guys have a great day. And we look forward to having you guys join us next time on the podcast.
See you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.